ডিয়ার স্টুডেন্টস, আমরা এই ক্লাসে ব্ল্যাক বডি রেডিয়েশনের ডিস্ট্রিবিউশনের জন্য যে থিওরি, তার একটা ইম্পর্ট্যান্ট পার্ট র্যালে জিন্স ল আমরা পড়ব। দিস ইজ বেসড অন দ্য ক্লাসিক্যাল ফিজিক্স। এই স্পেকট্রাল ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন আমরা এর আগে দেখেছি ফলোয়িং উইন্স থিওরি, যেখানে আমরা উইন্স ডিসপ্লেসমেন্ট ল দেখেছি, যেখানে আমরা একটা ডিসকাশন করেছি উইন্স থিওরি অফ ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন। আমাদের আগের ক্লাসে এটা আমরা ডিসকাস করেছিলাম। উইন্স থিওরি ওয়াজ আ ফেলিয়ার। It was developed from thermodynamic point of view and partly empirically when the distribution law due to wind came into consideration. আমি তোমাদের যে র্যালে জিন্স লয়ের ম্যাটেরিয়ালটা দিয়েছি, যে কপিটা, সেটা তোমরা দেখতে পাবে। আমি সেই ডিসকাশনটা স্টার্ট করছি এবং আমি এটা পার্টলি রিড আউট করব, যেখানে দরকার সেখানে এক্সপ্লেন করব, এবং তোমাদের প্রয়োজনে তোমরা আমাকে হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে কোয়েরি পাঠিয়ে দেবে। আমি শেষে আমার নাম্বার বলে দেবো হোয়াটসঅ্যাপের। At the beginning, I have given the Wien's theory, the Wien's distribution law. You see in equation number A, capital A. Follow the note, which is u lambda a lambda equal to a constant capital A into t to the power 5 multiplied by function of lambda t d lambda divided by lambda t whole to the power 5. And now the question is, what is the form of function of lambda t? This function of lambda t cannot be, in fact, cannot easily be determined through analytical calculations. There were several attempts, and remember, at that point of time, before the students, before the workers in physics, the situation was completely different as it is now. সেই সময়, at that point of time, people knew the classical mechanics, people knew Maxwell's equations, but at the same time, they have no idea on quantum mechanics, they have no idea on statistical mechanics, rather quantum statistics. Definitely statistics, about statistics they definitely knew Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics, but no quantum statistics was there, no special theory of relativity was there, and an all pervading medium, continuous medium, you know the name ether. People believed that something called ether is there in the space everywhere, and the waves propagate through ether, etc., etc. So situation was something different. Under the background, people tried to develop the theory, and the most important, most complete theory is due to Rayleigh and Jeans. Complete in sense of the physics known at that time, not complete in sense of correct. Rayleigh-Jeans theory is actually not correct. We will see it later, but it was complete in sense of the amount of physics known at that time. As I said, in equation A, u lambda d lambda, you see in the material I have given to you, it depends on a function of lambda t, but what is the shape of the lambda t? Function of lambda t. In Wien distributions law, we discussed it in the last class, the function of lambda t takes the form of e to the power minus a constant divided by lambda t, where it was found that this Wien's distributions law, this distribution fails when the wavelength is longer. For shorter wavelengths, Wien's law was successful. So there was a limitation. Lord Rayleigh and Jeans, as I know they did it separately, not together, they proposed the theory, and in the theory it is required to find out the total number of vibrations. The concept is very clear. They wanted to find out the number of possible wave motion, the number of waves, or in other words, you can say the vibrational modes. They tried to find out within a certain range of frequency. You know the wavelength in case of a diffuse blackbody radiation, the wavelength ranges from 0 to infinity. We have discussed it in previous classes. That means waves of all wavelength are present in a blackbody chamber. In this theory, they wanted to find out the number of waves that is present in the chamber having a frequency range nu and nu plus d nu. That means in the d nu width where the value is nu. And for that, they considered a rectangular box, rectangular parallelepiped, a rectangular three-dimensional box. The sides are P, Q and R. There is a volume equal to PQR, P into Q into R. They considered, rather they imagined, the walls are perfectly reflecting. And if the walls are perfectly reflecting, then the waves incident on it will be totally reflected by the walls, and the reflected wave and the incident wave, they will interfere. And when they interfere, they will form standing waves or stationary waves. Sthanu Torongo. We read it in Bengali. Stationary waves, standing waves. And as we know from the theory of standing waves, at both ends, nodes will be formed. You can see the diagram. If there is only one loop is formed, then there are only two nodes on the walls, and the difference will be lambda by 2. If more nodes are formed, then the distance between two successive nodes will be lambda by 2. That is, one node is lambda by 2 away from the previous node or the next node, whatever way you want to say. The walls will have nodes because there can be no displacement on the walls, and if there are multiple nodes, the plane passing through each nodal point and perpendicular to the direction of motion of the wave, direction of propagation of the wave, will be parallel to the walls. So what are the nodal planes? The walls are nodal planes, and imaginary planes parallel to the walls who pass through the nodes, as you see in the diagram for 2 loops, 3 loops, etc. Now, in a blackbody radiation, as the radiation is diffuse, the radiation does not fall on the wall every time perpendicularly. It can be of any angle. So let us consider an arbitrary ray whose direction cosine will be alpha, beta, gamma and falls on a wall. And direction, from the properties of direction cosines, you know alpha square plus beta square plus gamma square equal to 1. And then the ray gets reflected, falls to another wall, again reflected, and after multiple reflections, a possible 8 different rays will emerge with direction cosines plus minus alpha, plus minus beta, plus minus gamma. This can be figured out from the laws of reflection and from geometry. From symmetry considerations, we can figure out that. So the direction cosines of 8 rays will be, say, alpha, beta, minus gamma, alpha, minus beta, minus gamma, minus alpha, beta, gamma, and so on. You will get 8 possible combinations. We consider the reflection at YZ plane, that means the wall which is along YZ plane, that means perpendicular to the x-axis. And you see the diagram. OB is the incident wave, OC is the reflected wave, and they do interfere. Now, if BO was perpendicular on the wall, that means along AO, then definitely if B is a nodal point, the nodal point next to O, remember O is a nodal point, that if B is the next nodal point, then OB would have been lambda by 2. I repeat, if BO, the incident ray, was along x-axis, that means perpendicular to the plane, and B is a nodal point, then definitely BO would have been lambda by 2, as we have seen in the previous diagram. Now BO is not along the x-axis, but the incidence is oblique, making an angle theta, and on the wall or a nodal point, at any nodal point, say A be a nodal point. If it happens that A be a nodal point due to the interference of two waves, then definitely instead of OA, it will be OA cos theta, which will be equal to lambda by 2, because that will be equal to OB. So OA cos theta equal to lambda by 2, as is seen here. Again cos theta equal to alpha from direction cosine, and then you follow. And the next nodal point will be at 2 into lambda by 2 alpha, 3 into lambda by 2 alpha. That means integer multiple of lambda by 2 alpha. Now, if O was at one wall, then at the opposite wall there will be another node. The opposite wall is at a distance P, because length of the chamber is P along x-axis. If the first wall is at x equal to 0, the opposite wall will be at x equal to P, the length. Then P will, and there will be a node at P, therefore P equal to, P is a multiple of lambda by 2 alpha, let it be P equal to N1 into lambda by 2 alpha. N1 is an integer. Similarly, if you consider incidence parallel to y-axis, it will be Q will be equal to N2 into lambda by 2 beta, and for z-axis, perpendicular to z-axis, it will be r equal to n3 into lambda by 2 gamma. There is a correction you need to make. Just before equation 3 it will be similarly for reflection from plane perpendicular to y-axis and for plane perpendicular to z-axis. I missed the word plane. For a reflection at a plane perpendicular to y-axis. I think you got my point. And if it is so, you can see that every possible set of n1, n2 and n3 will give one particular wave, and for each set of n1, n2, n3 value, there will be a different solution of the wave, and the electric field associated to the wave can be written as given Ex as a function of x, y, z and t, E naught cos n1 pi x by p and so on, multiplied by the time part. From the wave theory you know it, and this can be derived from Maxwell's equations. Just to note another point here, that this solution, for a particular solution of the wave equation or the electric field, whatever, for a particular set of n1, n2, n3, actually will give rise to different states of polarization, two different states of polarization perpendicular to each other. In each case, the frequency will be same, frequency nu, and these two states of polarization at the same time they will exist, but they will not interfere. You see from conditions of interference that polarization is a factor. And now if you combine all the relations, you will see that n1 square by p square plus n2 square by q square plus n3 square by r square equal to 4 by lambda square equal to 4 into nu square by c square. See equation number 5, which is an ellipsoid where n1, n2, n3 are only integers, and the volume of the ellipsoid will be given by 4 by 3 pi p q r into 8 nu cube c cube by c cube. And as n1, n2 and n3 are integers, every point will occur after unit volume. Because from n1, just one unit volume, there will be only one point. There cannot be more than one point because they differ by one. They are integers. And they are all positive. But when you consider the volume of the ellipsoid, all negative values of n1 and n2 with origin at 0, volume of the ellipsoid, when you considered, you took the origin of the origin at the center of the ellipsoid. Now you consider only the positive quadrant, all positive quadrant, that means 1/8 part of the volume. So if you now match everything, that each point n1, n2, n3 that occur once in unit volume, that means the volume, accessible volume, that is 1/8 of the total volume, let it be the volume, okay. That volume is the number of waves, because each point n1, n2, n3, each set, one set of n1, n2, n3 gives you one solution, means one wave, and it occurs once in unit volume. So unit volume একবার আসছে, comes once in unit volume. তাহলে এই এন্টার ভলিউমে কতবার আসবে, কতগুলো ওয়েভ আসবে? That is the volume of the ellipsoid, accessible volume, that means 1/8 of the whole volume. That's the number of waves. And what will be the volume? That volume will be nu. That means starting from 0, remember that you consider 0 at the origin. So starting from 0 to nu, you found all the waves within the ellipsoid part, accessible part, 1/8 of the total volume, starting from 0 to nu. Now if you want to have the range from nu to nu plus d nu, then you will get a subshell kind of thing, a subshell corresponding to a subshell at the position nu, and the thickness of the subshell is d nu. So it is the number of wave motions within the frequency range nu and nu plus d nu definitely will be del del nu of the volume into d nu. Volume means number of waves. And so equation 6 gives you 4 pi into v. There is one mistake here. V is in this case, in equation 6, V is the volume of the rectangular box, PQR. So divide the this number of waves within nu and nu plus d nu by V, and you obtain the number of vibrations per unit volume within the range nu and nu plus d nu equal to 4 pi nu square by c cube d nu. And it can be shown, though we have started using a rectangular 3-dimensional box, it can be shown by some complicated algebra that the shape actually doesn't matter if the dimension of the enclosure, the rectangular box here, or in other case as another, say, circular or arbitrary shape, if the wavelength is much smaller than the dimension of the enclosure, then the shape of the enclosure doesn't matter, it can be shown. But well, this proof is not needed here. A rectangular box is enough for our purpose. And in terms of wavelength, the number of waves per unit volume, just you use c equal to nu into lambda, and you will find it 4 pi by lambda to the power 4 into d lambda. And now you multiply it by 2 to consider both states of polarization. So it will be 8 pi by lambda to the power 4. And from equipartition of energy, you know half kT is the amount of energy associated with each degree of freedom. And as it is a kind of oscillation, you considering number of vibrations, you considering, for vibration you have the total energy written as a half, something you compare with half kx square plus half mv square, kind of the form half into a into xi square plus half into b into xi dot square. And for each part you will have half kT, that means the total energy will be kT corresponding to each vibrational mode. Therefore, number of vibrations we know, we have 8 pi by lambda to the power 4 d lambda, and for each vibration there will be an energy kT. So the energy density within the wavelength range of lambda and lambda plus d lambda will be u lambda d lambda equal to 8 pi by lambda to the power kT into d lambda. That is the energy density, and this is the Rayleigh-Jeans distribution law. The most complete distribution law in terms of known physics at that point of time. And if you compare this equation 10, which is Rayleigh-Jeans law, with the first equation I have written and named it as number A, that came from the theory of wind, you see that you can write the constant capital A of Wind's relation as 8 pi k and function of lambda t as lambda t. but well, it is not a big deal. And from theory of electromagnetism, it is not directly in our scope. It can be shown that using the Rayleigh's law, you can write the intensity of emission, which is actually measured, E lambda equal to C into U lambda by 4 pi means 2C lambda to the power 4 kT. This is important. So what we have learned? We have learned that the Rayleigh's distribution law, which is 8 pi kT by lambda to the power 4 into d lambda as u lambda d lambda. And now when we go to apply it and check whether it is correct, we found that there are some limitations. The Rayleigh's distribution law fails when the wavelength is shorter, which is known as ultraviolet catastrophe, and I will discuss it for 1 or 2 minutes in the next class. And from where I will move to Planck's distribution law. The ultraviolet catastrophe will be kind of my introduction to the Planck's law. I will use it that way. And if you see the intensity of emission, you know the intensity has a peak at certain lambda for a fixed temperature. You get maximum intensity at certain lambda. Below that lambda, intensity is less. Above that lambda, the intensity is less. There is a peak. But if you want to calculate from equation 11 the maximum intensity with respect to lambda, the value of lambda at which the intensity is maximum, you can't find it. You just go to differentiate it, and do that you cannot find any expression for maximum intensity. That is another limitation. So it is not correct. However, it has been observed that Rayleigh's law agrees with the experimental results when lambda is large. That means for higher wavelength region, that means low energy region, the Rayleigh's law agrees the experimental results. So we end here.